This episode is brought to you by ElevateOS, the only all-in-one community operating system. ElevateOS transforms property management, combining resident engagement, reservations, rent payments, maintenance, and concierge services into a single super app. It also uniquely integrates access control, intercoms, package lockers, and thermostats, eliminating app fatigue and redefining modern apartment living. Visit elevateos.com/MMN for a free demo and see how they can help you level up your operations. Guess what time it is? That's right. It's that time of the week again where you grab your favorite beverage. For me, I'm doing the Grounds for Connection, the MMN branded coffee. That's Multifamily Media Network coffee. The chocolatey, sweetness, earthy, full body, complex coffee. This is a fantastic brew. And it is, believe it or not, multifamily approved. If you don't know where to get this, go to the Multifamily Media Network website and you can pick it up. I am excited for the Multifamily Collective interview that I am bringing to you today. We're honored to have Clark Ebert as our guest. Now if you don't know him, he is a seasoned conference strategist and a content curator with a distinguished career in the multifamily space or the rental housing space. He is the director of conference education programming at the National Apartment Association, and he's been instrumental in shaping some of the most impactful educational experiences in the industry. He's put together things like Cultivate and the upcoming Apartmentalize, what I consider to be the Super Bowl of the apartment industry, happening in Las Vegas this year. That's coming up very, very soon. But Clark just has a commitment, a level of commitment that is unmatched as it relates to bringing an educational experience, but more so an all-around experience to all of the participants at the Apartmentalize event. It is huge. He discloses the attendance number this year. He discloses some of the metrics that he uses for success or pulling off a successful program. He's got a background that includes a degree from The Ohio State University, which I did not know until I printed out his bio to read it right now. So I am from Ohio, and he went to The Ohio State University, which is fantastic. So he and I will have to share some conversation back and forth as it relates to that when we see each other in real life at the Apartment Association. So without further ado, again, grab your favorite beverage and grab a writing utensil, be it digital, pencil, pen, whatever it is, and your favorite thing to write on, because you'll be taking some notes from this episode. Here it is. Clark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. How are you?
Hey, I'm tremendous now that I finally have you on the Multifamily Collective. I've been after this interview for like 5 years, and we finally got it on the calendar. So I'm very excited.
Well, I'm really pleased to be here. I always like spending time with you, regardless of what we're talking about. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. I really especially appreciated knowing that you are, I think you mentioned right before we hit the record button, you're like, we're 30 days away from the NAA Apartmentalize event. And I can only imagine that this is so close to the crescendo moment that you've probably got 1,000 things going on right now.
I do, but Mike, as a meeting planner, this is a really fun time. I started working on Apartmentalize just after we concluded in Philly last year. So my first site visit was in July, and my team of 6 has been working all year long to sort of line up all the parts. As you know, Apartmentalize is gargantuan in scale. I like to say that it's not a 3-ring circus, it's a 5-ring circus. And we pack a lot into 3 days. So this is that point in the planning process where all the details start to come together. And it's really exciting because it's a year's worth of work coming to fruition. So 30 days out is both, when you say that to me, it causes a great rush of both anxiety and excitement that runs through my body.
Well, I'd like to back up for just a second. So July of last year, you and your team start to scout out the next location for the National Apartment Association's Apartmentalize event. But how do you go about thinking through? So you have the venue, you have all that nailed down. How do you go about thinking through the educational programs that you want to present to all the attendees? And I know there's a big trade show as well, but just on the education side, how do you think about it?
Sure. On the education side, I like to say that I spin gold out of hay. It's a little grandiose, but powerful. So that really begins in October. I have an education advisory board that has about 20 people on it, and I bring them together to kick off the process. They all come to headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, and we spend the day looking at the event, talking about who our audience is and how we performed last year, what our goals are for this coming year. And then we spend the majority of the day really coming up with topics and or problems that people are experiencing within their organizations. And the education advisory board sort of they come up with a list of things they would like to see on the program. And at the end of the day, I have each and one of the EAB members claim one of the ideas that the group generated. And then I ask them to make a proposal about that in the call for presentations. And I like doing that because the people who are doing that, they'll make a submission, and then there's a review process, which is it's quite rigorous. And they will have gone through the process of making a submission before they sit down and they evaluate the ones that they're assigned.
So they, in a way, it might not be the right metaphor, but they have some skin in the game as it relates to going through the process of choosing the people that are going to do the presentations.
Yeah, I think they have some empathy for people who submit. You know,
That's a better way to put it.
We sort of drown we're drowning in riches. For instance, last year I had 365 proposals that were submitted, and I have room for only about 95 of those on the program. So,
wow.
And then each of the 20 reviewers spends about 20 to 25 hours. Each reviewer sees more than 100 proposals. They see about 120.
Wow.
So I know in that process, I do know that sometimes people become frustrated if they're not selected, but there a lot of rigor goes into really evaluating what people put forth, and that's where the bulk of the content comes from. And most of those people are people who are national speakers or come from the training world within the multifamily industry. So they're people who understand how to educate folks. They know how to figure out a curriculum for a course that sort of really clearly and efficiently articulate the content that they're trying to make.
That makes sense. So I imagine after all that rigor in planning and choosing, there are measures or metrics that you use to measure the success of an Apartmentalize. Attendance is certainly one. If you could share that, that'd be fantastic. But what do you look at beyond attendance in terms of a metric that would demonstrate success or a successful program?
So numbers are tricky because there is not just one number that describes like the size of the event. For instance, you look for total number of warm bodies, which probably is going to surpass 12,000. Yes, and about 5,500 of those will be close to 5,500 will be full paid conference registrations. And I think of those people as the learners. Those are the people who put butts in seats at the event.
That is amazing.
It's
12,000 people.
Yeah, but that includes everybody. That includes the sound technician, our staff, people who work for our show decorator. We probably have 15 vendors that we work with to make the show come together.
Got it.
It includes all those people, and it's a big number. I focus on the 5,500 because those are the people that I have to engage.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about those 5,500 people at the very end of the show, and we're not talking about the raw number of 5,500, but if Clark's sitting back, wherever that might be, with a martini or some drink of choice in his hand, and you're thinking this was successful, what would you be telling yourself as it relates to those 5,500 people?
Well, there's no sitting until afterwards. The martini is dirty in the scenario. I track how many people attend in a given time block, and I know that from our attendance is stronger at the beginning of the show, and at some point people become fatigued. They get saturated as learners. I get a lot of personal feedback from folks. Like people will stop me and tell me what they might have just seen and let me know if it was helpful or not. I personally collect a lot of anecdotal feedback. We have a post-conference survey that we use to we ask people how effective was the learning, seem qualified to talk about. Was the information that you used, that you received, usable? Like, I always think of the words practical and actionable.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, we have different lengths of formats. We have primarily 60 and 50-minute segments that people can attend. Although this year I'm doing some new 30-minute options on both Wednesday and Friday, and I'm calling those quick takes. Yeah, there are 3 in each time block on Wednesday and on Friday. I think that people's attention span that grows shorter as we become more immersed in the digital world. And for a lot of people, myself included, asking someone to sit still for an hour can be challenging. So we have those quick takes. You can look for those on Wednesday and on Friday. I think now might be a good opportunity to also mention that on Wednesday, we've added some structured networking. There will be 3 offerings. 60% of Apartmentalize attendees are first timers. So they're coming to the Five Ring Circus for the very first time. The industry is full of a lot of extroverts, but not everybody falls into that category. So on Wednesday, we have starting at 1 o'clock, 2:05, and 3:10, we have a session where you can just go and meet people. And there we have really masterful facilitators who are going to help put people together and give them something to kibitz about so that they start off the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday journey with some new friends.
I love that. That was one of the things I wanted to ask you. I mean, obviously, National Apartment Association is a huge organization across the entire country. Let's call it a community, right? But then when you come to Apartmentalize, it is so massive and happens so rapidly. If you're not intentional about creating collision points for people to come together and create new friendships and relationships, you could walk out of there kind of like, oh my goodness, what just happened to me?
Yes. So that's when you say that to me, I want to let your listeners know that next Wednesday at 3 o'clock on May the 14th, we're going to have a first timer webinar to help first timers plan their experience. Right now,
Love that. Sorry, go ahead.
So right now, available on the website, you can go through our listing of 106 educational choices that happen over the 3 days. By the way, we have 18 tracks that we cover, and there are 250 industry experts who are manning the post by being subject matter experts. And I think that in order to make the most of your experience, you have to do some strategic planning ahead of time. So the first timer webinar next Wednesday on the 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we'll teach people how to look at the program, how to filter by topic and time and a session format, those kinds of things, so that they can start to think about a schedule and what they want to pay attention to. You really need to be strategic ahead of time, because if you just show up with no plan, you're going to be overwhelmed. In every given time block, there are 12 options for you to choose from.
Right.
So we're gonna try and set people up with a little bit of strategy and some tools to make a plan. And then go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick note. We're going to promote that on the Multifamily Media Network. Just try to spread awareness. That is such a fantastic idea. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What was
That's
your
okay.
next thought there?
That's okay. If anybody's registered for Apartmentalize, they'll get an email with a link advertising the offering. But it's multiple channels, hearing the message multiple times. We want to make sure that people really make the most of their experience. And then about 10 days out from, I think on the 28th, we have a What to Know Before You Go webinar plan.
And is that a similar thematic as the?
But it's more about sort of like, this is what the building looks like. Here's how to navigate it. This is what you need to pack. Here's an overview of the schedule and the general layout of things, schedule at a glance, as it were. Some highlights to look forward to, like the Wednesday opening reception and the famous/infamous Thursday night party.
Yes, famous for sure.
We've got some really interesting keynote speakers that most people don't want to miss. Let me tell you about
That's right.
those.
Yes, please
I know I'm a little all over the place, but that's because I'm excited.
go for it. Yeah, this is your format.
On Wednesday afternoon, general session speaker is a guy named Jay Shetty. And Jay really talks about bringing ancient wisdom into the digital world. He is very charismatic, and he spent some time in his life being a,
That's right.
really interesting guy, not to be missed on Wednesday afternoon. And then on Thursday, Kevin Brown is he's a business focused speaker and lastly on the last day, we have Simone Biles,
Wow.
the greatest athlete of all time. Very excited to hear what she has to share.
Yeah, my daughter was a gymnast. She's older now, so she's not doing gymnastics anymore. But when I told her who was speaking at the age, she's like, "I'm gonna hide myself in your suitcase. I'm coming along." So
Yeah,
fantastic. She's a
we're
huge
very
fan.
we're very excited about
That'll be fun. I'm quite interested. There is so much, and we'll bring to a close here in just a minute. But there's so much happening in the multifamily space. We could bucket it in the kind of the tech category. But I think that tech that's making an impact in multifamily is also giving cause for sort of structural changes that don't necessarily have to do with the tech. They have a little bit to do with the tech, but it's kind of the changing the way we do business. How are you, is that high on the radar? And are you kind of introducing that into the ecosystem more and more as you see AI and centralization and other things like that making impact?
absolutely. Sort of one of them. We cover 18 tracks, Mike. That's kind of artificial. It's just sort of a way to organize information so that that we can have a handle on things. But I
Understood.
always like to say that there are sub themes to every Apartmentalize, meaning that there's a topic that might appear in technology as well as operations as well as leadership. Like you can use any of those lenses to focus on a particular issue or trend. So
That makes sense.
centralization is like we're kind of in centralization 3.0. People started looking at centralization after the pandemic and took a couple of swats at it. There were early adopters, but now we see that as a common practice across small, medium, and large companies now. And when you take that and then you add the technological advancements in the last couple of years, people's jobs are changing, like how they spend their time and how organizations use their talent has really shifted. Alex Jackie, for instance, is doing a session on the changing role of the regional property manager, which I think is really fascinating.
Very true.
People have changed the way they think about their work and their commitment to work. We have a reorganization in how much work stays in house and how much we outsource, and then we have all these new technological tools. So there's a big shuffle that seems to be happening.
Okay. I love that. I want to ask you one question before I ask you a couple of rapid fire questions and then we'll come to a close. But how long have you been kind of in charge of creating the NAA Apartmentalize experience? This
This
is
is
your
my
number.
11th year planning an Apartmentalize.
Is there one moment that, and I know there are millions of moments over the course of that time, but is there one moment where you go, well, that was just something that was very pivotal in the industry or pivotal for you personally?
I love to talk about myself, Mike. I'll take personal for 500.
Okay. Oh,
So I've had a lot of jobs, and my career has been over a long period of time, shall we say? I'm mature in my career and in my work life, and I think that for me, I feel like I've built something that has made a difference. And more importantly, I've cultivated relationships with a lot of industry leaders, thought leaders in particular, to help build the education content at Apartmentalize. Like I've had a chance to meet some really wonderful people. And I get to see that side of the industry where people want to give back and they want to help. That's a really nice view to have. There's a lot changing and there's a lot of divide and unhappiness in the world, I gotta say, I get to see a slice of the pie where I see a lot of people cooperating for common good. That makes me happy.
I love that. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, couple rapid fires, and then I'll let you get back to having a little bit of anxiousness about the next 30 days. um, is there a book or a podcast or some other sort of stimulus that's sort of significantly influenced you over the, it doesn't matter what the time frame is, but just something that comes to mind in that respect?
I think the most influential thing it's not a book or a podcast or a source, but the last couple of years I've worked on an alternate event for NAA called Cultivate. And it's an event for senior level leaders, and it's meant to help them sort of advance their practice of leadership. When I say practice, I mean that it's something that is an everyday thing that you try and come to fresh every day. I've had a chance to watch senior leaders come together and really support each other and talk candidly and vulnerably to how they approach the people that they lead, how they motivate and manage their teams, how they stay in touch with the people that make great things happen for their organizations. And that's meant a lot to me in the last 2 years. Oh, and by the way, I should probably plug it. Like
You should.
Cultivate is, I mean, I'm right there, right? So Cultivate is going to happen in February of 2026, and we'll be convening in Nashville. It's a really nice, intimate retreat kind of event where you can really roll up your sleeves and have good, stimulating conversations with people from other organizations who are facing the same challenges as you.
I love that. And Nashville is such a great city. So very, very cool. Okay, so last question, and then I want to give you the opportunity if there's something I've not brought up in the course of this conversation, certainly do that. But is there a mentor or a figure out there in the world over the course of your career that you admire, that you like? Who is it, and why do you admire them, and what impact have they made in your life?
This is really personal, really small, and not everybody's going to know this person. I'm interested in body work and massage therapy, and I had a teacher who said something to me that always resonates with me. I work in a sea of people. I live in a big city. I'm constantly moving through. He talked about seeing somebody in the world that took him by surprise, that he wasn't quite sure what to make of. And his response was, well, that's another way to be, which is kind of like a Buddhist, or it's kind of a non-judgmental observational way to see somebody else and give them the space they need to be the person that they are and how they make their way in the world. So that's something that I think about a lot, looking at another person and saying, well, that's another way to be.
I love that. Thank you. That's a gift. That is a real gift. It is. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. It's useful.
Definitely. Anything that I've not asked you that you would like to give to the audience?
I'll just say that I'm really looking forward to going to Las Vegas. I think that the multifamily industry will really enjoy themselves. The great thing about Las Vegas is it makes people feel like rock stars for the time that they're there. The people in our industry, they make home and community for their residents. And this is a really cool way to celebrate them and the good work that they do by treating them to feeling like rock stars for the time that they're in Las Vegas. I know that I expect a culmination of a lot of communal energy. And I'm looking forward to seeing old friends, making some new ones, and feeling like a rock star myself in Las Vegas, June 11th through 13th.
Excellent. And if people want to learn more online, what is the website, and or how might they get in touch with you directly if you're willing to share that?
If you go to naahq.org, there is a link from the homepage that will take you to the event. And then from there, you can have a look at all of the education that's available. There a full schedule that people can peruse, and a full list of exhibitors who will be at our exposition. We didn't even get to talk about the exposition. It's going to be the largest that we've ever had in the history of Apartmentalize.
Wow. Well, Clark, it is always a pleasure to catch up with you. The event itself is a testament to you and the hard work and effort that all of your team members and the extension of those team members put into this every year. So we're looking forward to it. I know I'm personally looking forward to it. I'm selfishly looking forward to seeing you and shaking your hand, hugging your neck, but it'll be fun. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. I really do enjoy sitting down and having a conversation with you. You're kind of a multifamily rock star, Mike.
Oh, you're way too kind. Thank you,
Not
Clark.
really. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.